Hey everyone! In today's video, we're uncovering the shocking secrets about Rick Harrison, the founder of the iconic gold and silver pawn shop, exposed by none other than his ex-wife. You won't want to miss this jaw-dropping, dramatic reveal. Let's dive in. Rick Harrison's ex-wife is finally breaking her silence, revealing jaw-dropping secrets about the private life of the Pawn Stars mogul. Get ready to uncover the truth behind the glitz, mysterious relationships, and shocking surprises that no one saw coming. Are you ready to dive in? You won't want to miss the bombshell secrets Rick Harrison's ex-wife has just revealed. The shocking truths about the private life of the Pawn Stars king will leave you speechless. If you're blown away by this revelation, comment number 1 to show your surprise. If you think otherwise, drop a number 0. And don't forget to hit like if this caught your attention and share it with your friends so they can know too. Rick Harrison, the well-known face of Pawn Stars and owner of the gold and silver pawn shop in Las Vegas, found himself at the center of a sensational federal trial in February 2025. The Las Vegas courtroom was packed as the trial commenced. Once adored as a jovial and knowledgeable antiques dealer on television, Rick now faced 3 grave charges: tax evasion, theft, and trafficking in illicit antiquities, along with smuggling. Prosecutor Laura Martinez kicked off the trial with a powerful argument, accusing Rick Harrison of using his pawn shop as a cover for illegal operations. She presented compelling evidence of unreported income between 2018 and 2023, totaling $2.7 million from transactions tied to Pawn Stars and antique deals that were never disclosed to the Internal Revenue Service, IRS. Martinez also introduced documents detailing a suspicious shipment from Mexico, which included suspected stolen 9th-century Mayan pottery that Rick allegedly purchased through a dubious intermediary in 2022. On the smuggling charge, she revealed encrypted emails between Rick and a European dealer discussing how to import 17th-century bronze statues without the necessary permits. Rick Harrison is not an antiques dealer, Martinez declared. He is a man who exploited his fame to break the law. The prosecution's case grew stronger with the presentation of legal documents and witness testimonies. The IRS submitted financial reports revealing that Rick had transferred $1.5 million to an account in the Cayman Islands, allegedly to avoid paying taxes. Additionally, archaeologist Dr. Emily Torres testified that some of the Mayan pottery found at Rick's shop showed signs of being illegally excavated from a site in Yucatan, violating the UNESCO Convention on Cultural Heritage Protection. The trial took a dramatic turn when the prosecution presented encrypted emails recovered from Rick's computer, showing that he had paid $200,000 for a shipment of bronze statues without the required legal documentation. The tension escalated further when Deanna Burdick, Rick's ex-wife, took the stand to testify. Adding to the weight of the case, Mike Larson, a former senior employee responsible for acquisitions at Gold and Silver Pawn, also testified. Mike, once one of Rick's most trusted subordinates, was in charge of authenticating and appraising high-value items brought into the shop. During his testimony, Mike recalled a private meeting in Rick's office over 6 years ago when a private client from Spain presented a collection of antique watches valued at over $250,000. Rick looked at Mike and said firmly, "Mike, don't log this. Keep it clean, cash payment only, we don't need the IRS getting involved." Mike admitted feeling uneasy, but didn't challenge the order, understanding it was a direct command from his boss, not a mere suggestion. Big deals, especially those without paperwork, were always pushed to be handled off the books, Mike testified, his eyes locked on Rick, who sat silently in the defendant's box. Rick's defense team, led by prominent Las Vegas attorney James Whitaker, mounted a strong counterattack. Whitaker argued that the unreported income was a result of accounting mistakes, not deliberate tax evasion. He pointed out that the IRS had audited the shop several times without finding any substantial issues. Concerning the Mayan artifacts, Whitaker claimed they were legally purchased from a Mexican collector with receipts, though he conceded there may have been lapses in documentation. Regarding the smuggling charges, Whitaker dismissed the emails as fabricated, attributing them to a cyber attack on Rick's computer in 2021. He also sought to discredit Larson, highlighting that he had been fired for theft and had a personal vendetta against Rick. Rick Harrison is the victim of a smear campaign designed to bring down a Las Vegas icon, Whitaker declared. The trial reached its dramatic peak on the 10th day when Rick Harrison took the stand. He maintained a calm demeanor but struggled to hide his emotion. Rick denied all charges, insisting that the gold and silver pawn shop had always operated transparently and legally. He explained that the overseas money transfers were legitimate real estate investments, and the questionable antiques had been purchased from reputable brokers. When confronted about the encrypted emails, he responded, "I don't know anything about them. Someone was trying to frame me." However, his noticeable hesitation when questioned about off-the-books transactions raised suspicions among the jury and those in the courtroom. At the end of his testimony, Rick shifted to a more emotional tone, referencing the heartbreaking loss of his son Adam in 2024 to a drug overdose. He said, "I've lost too much already. I'm not a criminal." His words seemed intended to elicit sympathy from the jury, highlighting the personal tragedies he had suffered. However, his focus on private grief rather than directly addressing the mounting evidence against him left a mixed impression, leading some to question if he was trying to deflect from the serious charges. The entire world was stunned when Rick Harrison's ex-wife revealed shocking secrets for the first time. From family conflicts to horrifying scandals, these details are too explosive to miss. Comment number 2 if you believe her story, or number 5 if you think it's just a fabrication. Don't forget to like and share if you find this gripping story too intense to ignore. The courtroom was thrown into chaos on the 15th day when Deanna Burdick, Rick's ex-wife, was called to testify by the prosecution. With a stern expression and a steady voice, Deanna revealed shocking details about Rick and the real reasons behind their divorce. She testified that during their marriage, she had witnessed Rick receiving suspicious shipments of antiques at night through the back door, deliberately bypassing official records. One of the most startling revelations came when Deanna spoke of discovering a hidden safe in Rick's office in 2019, filled with documents detailing offshore financial transactions worth millions of dollars. "Rick told me it was private business, but I knew something was wrong," she said, her voice trembling. Deanna insisted she had no involvement in these activities, but felt it was her duty to speak out for the sake of justice, sending shockwaves through the courtroom and heightening the tension. Deanna had handed over to the FBI a handwritten ledger from 2018, listing antique transactions with values that didn't align with the shop's official records. She also recounted how Rick had once bragged about legally avoiding taxes by funneling money through a shell company in Panama. This directly contradicted Rick's sworn claims of transparency, sending a shockwave through the courtroom. Rick's defense attorney, Whitaker, tried to discredit Deanna, calling her a vengeful ex-wife with ulterior motives. However, when prosecutor Laura Martinez asked why she had remained silent for so long, Deanna responded, "I was afraid of retaliation, but I couldn't stay silent anymore knowing the truth." Deanna wasn't finished. Having lived with Rick for over a decade, she knew the ins and outs of the gold and silver pawn shop's operations. She revealed, "I once overheard Rick and Corey arguing about a shipment of Swiss watches stuck at customs. Rick said, 'Call your guy at the airport, get it to the old warehouse, mark it as inventory from Utah. Don't let the auditors know.'" Her testimony shifted the case in a dramatic new direction. The courtroom erupted as Deanna's words sank in. Corey Harrison, Rick's only remaining son and affectionately known as Big Hoss to fans, was now implicated. Deanna revealed that Corey was not only aware of, but actively involved in cleaning the origins of goods and sometimes handled large cash transactions to protect his father. "I saw Rick hand Corey a stack of cash and say, 'Handle Reno, bring me a fake invoice later,'" she testified. In response, an FBI attorney immediately requested permission to conduct a supplemental investigation into Corey Harrison, now a suspect in a cross-state money laundering and antiquities smuggling operation. After a closed-door meeting between the legal teams, Judge Albright ordered a 10-day suspension of the main trial to allow the FBI to gather more evidence and give the court time to process these shocking developments. Public reaction was immediate and divided. Loyal Pawn Stars fans labeled it a smear campaign against the Harrison family, while others argued, "Deanna has finally exposed the true face of the Harrisons. They're not the heroes we see on TV." The media quickly dubbed it an earthquake in the courtroom. What began as a case of financial fraud and tax evasion had now spiraled into a potential cross-state smuggling network involving 2 generations of the Harrison family. The big question loomed: what would happen to Corey Harrison in the trial? Both the public and the press eagerly awaited the next chapter. Deanna, now at the center of attention, declined interviews but released a statement through her attorney. "I just want justice to be served." Her testimony marked a pivotal moment in the investigation. She wasn't just Rick's ex-wife, but a crucial witness to the activities behind the gold and silver pawn shop. Her words revealed a side of the Harrison family that had been hidden from the public. As the story unfolds, all eyes will be on Corey and his role in the scandal. Let's take a look back at the journey that catapulted Rick Harrison to fame. Born in 1965 in Lexington, North Carolina, Rick was raised in a family of 4 children. In 1981, after his parents went bankrupt from a failed real estate investment, the Harrison family relocated to Las Vegas. It was there that Rick and his father, Richard Baldwin Harrison, started working at a modest coin and antiques shop. This small shop would eventually evolve into the gold and silver pawn shop, marking the beginning of Rick's career. In the beginning, the business was straightforward, buying low and selling to tourists. But Rick quickly demonstrated a natural talent for appraising items and spotting fakes. By 1989, the shop was officially licensed as a pawn shop. The real turning point came in 2005 when the shop started handling loans exceeding $3 million annually, becoming a well-known fixture in Las Vegas. In 2009, Rick signed a deal with the History Channel, transforming Pawn Stars into a blockbuster TV show. Pawn Stars is an unscripted show focused on buying, appraising, and negotiating with sellers. It quickly became a cultural phenomenon, with Rick not just being the shop's owner but its heart, alongside his father, his son Corey Harrison, and longtime friend Austin "Chumlee" Russell. With fame came sponsorship deals for everything from razors to kitchen appliances, and Rick made appearances on popular shows like The Middle and iCarly, proving his surprising versatility. With fame, Rick began to change. From 2011 to 2016, the golden years of Pawn Stars, Rick was married to Deanna Burdick. During this time, his schedule was packed with media events, book signings, major conferences, and efforts to expand his brand globally. While he was celebrated on TV as the Pawn King, his personal world started to shrink. His relationships shifted from family ties to connections with his show's crew. Deanna, his legal wife at the time, never appeared on Pawn Stars, despite living with him and supporting him every day. She was completely excluded from the show and from Rick's official narrative. As Rick built his empire under the TV spotlight, it gradually turned him into a stranger to those who knew him best. That's why Deanna, a self-reliant attorney, ultimately decided to end the marriage. In post-trial interviews, she revealed a bleaker, more isolating version of their life together, one marked by emotional distance and internal conflict. She described their relationship as more of a carefully constructed performance meant to uphold Rick's public persona than a genuine partnership grounded in affection and mutual support. He lived in a universe where he was the center, and the rest of us, including me, were merely background players, Deanna stated without hesitation. Deanna painted Rick as a controlling figure who orchestrated every aspect of their lives, from daily routines and vacations to major decisions like purchasing their home, without her input, only notifying her after the fact. She also disclosed that Rick had been unfaithful multiple times throughout their nearly 10-year marriage. "He didn't just lie to me with financial papers," she said. "He lied with the young women he called business partners." She recounted uncovering suspicious texts, shady hotel bills, and even catching Rick leaving a Vegas nightclub with a stranger shortly after their wedding anniversary. When confronted, Rick merely laughed and said, "Don't believe everything you see, I'm a celebrity." Deanna revealed that Rick was often gone, regularly attending Pawn Stars events without her. Though she was initially promised a behind-the-scenes role on the show, every opportunity gradually disappeared. Making matters worse, Rick instructed her to avoid the media, skip public events, and stay out of photos, all to preserve his carefully curated image. Home life, Deanna said, became increasingly isolating. She had 3 children from a previous marriage, but Rick never formed a real connection with them. He wasn't openly unkind, but he also wasn't engaged. Just a distant figure during holidays, birthdays, or Thanksgiving, offering no real presence or meaningful involvement. Deanna made efforts to salvage the marriage, even suggesting therapy, but Rick dismissed the idea, insisting the issues were hers alone. As time went on, meaningful communication between them faded. Though she lived alongside a high-profile man, she felt like a stranger in her own home. When asked why she chose to speak up now, Deanna was clear. "I stayed silent for too long, out of respect for Rick's privacy and, more importantly, to protect my children." But with Rick's scandal unfolding publicly and his court appearances making headlines, she felt compelled to break her silence. "I think I deserve to speak out at least once to show the world the fake facade," she said. Deanna received a wave of support from many who felt she had endured in silence for far too long and fully deserved the chance to tell her side of the story. To them, her decision to speak out was an act of bravery, especially under the shadow of Rick Harrison's celebrity status. Yet there was also harsh criticism from others who accused her of seeking the spotlight at a time when Rick was grappling with the potential loss of his freedom. The divided reactions underscored the layered nature of Deanna's narrative, casting her as both a sympathetic figure shaped by difficult circumstances and a subject of scrutiny for the timing of her revelations. Rick Harrison's personal life has been anything but steady, shaped by 4 marriages that never quite found lasting ground. His first wife, Kim Harrison, married him when he was just 18 and still trying to establish himself in Las Vegas. Together, they had 2 sons, Corey and Adam, and faced years of financial and personal struggle. Despite their efforts, the marriage ended after only 3 years. After the split, Kim stepped away from the spotlight entirely, opting for a low-profile life with her children, while Rick pressed forward with his ambitions and public career on his own. In 1986, Rick married his second wife, Tracy Harrison, who would go on to be his longest-standing partner. Together, they had a son named Jake Harrison. Tracy played a vital behind-the-scenes role in managing the gold and silver pawn shop long before Pawn Stars catapulted the family business into the spotlight. But as Rick's fame surged, Tracy gradually disappeared from the narrative, absent from public events, omitted from interviews, and seemingly written out of the very success she helped foster. According to those close to them, the biggest strain on their marriage was Rick's frequent absence. He was rarely around for key family occasions, missing everything from holidays to school meetings, leaving Tracy to navigate both parenting and partnership alone. Following their divorce in 2011, Rick and Tracy parted ways with little public friction, avoiding any high-profile battles over property or finances. Their more than 20-year marriage ended much like it had existed, quietly, behind the scenes, and far from the spotlight. After the split, Tracy disappeared entirely from public view, choosing not to attend events or make statements, almost as if she had never been connected to one of America's most recognizable TV figures. Her silence, though, left a lasting impression, leading many to speculate about what may have remained hidden behind the curtain of their seemingly uneventful union. In early 2012, just months after finalizing his divorce from Tracy, Rick surprised fans by stepping into the spotlight with a new partner, Deanna Burdick. Deanna, who came into the relationship with 3 daughters from a previous union and her own history of heartbreak, married Rick in July 2013. Despite being together for 7 years, the couple never had children of their own, and according to Deanna, their home life never truly resembled a cohesive family. Rick seldom acknowledged her publicly, and although they shared the same household, Deanna described herself as a silent presence, unseen, unnamed, and excluded from the image Rick presented to the world. After his separation from Deanna, Rick shocked the public once more by marrying Amanda Palmer in 2021. However, this marriage lasted only about 2 years, making it the shortest of his unions. Amanda remained largely out of the public eye, never accompanying Rick to events or leaving a significant media footprint. Some sources in Las Vegas speculated that the split was due to contrasting lifestyles. Amanda longed for a quieter, more peaceful life, while Rick was deeply immersed in growing his television empire and personal brand. Rick Harrison has endured deep personal tragedies throughout his life, from the loss of close family members to mistakes that later led him to a courtroom in 2025. The first major blow came on June 25, 2018, when Rick's father, Richard "Old Man" Harrison, passed away at 77 after a battle with Parkinson's disease. A co-founder of the gold and silver pawn shop, Richard wasn't just Rick's father, He was his greatest mentor, introducing him to the world of antiques. Rick expressed his grief on Instagram, writing, "He was an amazing father, my best friend. I will miss him forever." His father's death left a profound gap in Rick's life, leaving him to run the shop on his own at the height of Pawn Star's success. After his father's death, Rick fell into a mild depression, often visiting the shop late at night to speak with the items his father had cherished. These solitary moments highlighted the deep emotional void left by Richard Old Man Harrison's passing, emphasizing how profoundly his father had shaped Rick's life, both personally and professionally. The gold and silver pawn shop became more than just a business for Rick. It became a living memory of his father. Managing the shop and Pawn Stars during such a difficult time put Rick in an emotionally taxing position, as he was forced to maintain a public persona of strength while privately battling his grief. The next devastating blow came on January 19, 2024, when Rick's second son, Adam Harrison, passed away at 39 from a drug overdose. Unlike his brother Corey, Adam had chosen a life away from the public eye, working in construction and avoiding the fame of Pawn Stars. Rick had hoped that Adam might one day return to work at the shop, but their relationship had grown strained over time due to their contrasting lifestyles. When the news of Adam's death reached him, Rick was crushed. He shared his grief on Instagram, writing, "My son Adam is gone forever. Be careful with drugs. They take away the ones you love." In a 2024 interview with People, Rick became emotional as he spoke about his son's death, saying, "I never thought I'd lose Adam to drugs. I wish I had done more." Adam's passing was not just a devastating loss. It became a sobering wake-up call for Rick, leaving him with deep regret. Rick had always been protective of his private life, but after Adam's death, those close to him began noticing a shift. Though he still appeared outwardly strong, his eyes grew heavy with sorrow, and his voice, once full of energy at public events, lacked its former vigor. The grief of losing Adam caused Rick to become more withdrawn, prompting him to reflect on the missed chances to truly connect with his son. In the wake of Adam's death, Rick began speaking out publicly against government drug policies, even taking on a role as a spokesperson for anti-drug campaigns. These actions reflected his desire to turn his personal heartbreak into a message of awareness for the wider community. However, many saw through his advocacy, recognizing that beneath these passionate statements lay the deep, unresolved grief of a father who felt he had missed too many opportunities to help his son. By engaging in these public efforts, Rick was not only coping with his loss, but also trying to atone for what he believed were his failures in preventing Adam's struggle with addiction. Public reaction to Rick's emotional tributes following Adam's death was mixed. While many expressed sympathy for his grief, others questioned the authenticity of the father-son relationship he had publicly portrayed. Critics pointed out that, over the years, Rick rarely mentioned Adam, especially compared to how often he spoke about Corey in interviews and on Pawn Stars. In fact, Adam never appeared on the show, despite being Rick's son. A member of the Pawn Stars production team, who requested to remain anonymous, revealed, "We almost never heard Rick talk about Adam. It was always Corey, Chumlee, and the scenes we were shooting." This observation fueled public skepticism, particularly as Rick became more vocal in media and anti-drug campaigns following Adam's death, further dividing opinions on his sincerity. However, Rick's tragedies were far from over. In December 2025, a new legal battle thrust Corey Harrison, Rick's eldest son and longtime co-star on Pawn Stars, into a painful public trial. Corey was indicted as an accomplice in the antiquities smuggling operations allegedly orchestrated by Rick. As the trial unfolded, prosecutors revealed that while Rick was already facing his own legal challenges, he had to endure the added agony of watching his son be dragged into the same scrutiny. The weight of Corey's trial became the greatest burden of Rick's life, adding another layer of heartache to his already tumultuous journey. The tragedies in Rick Harrison's life began with the death of his father, Old Man, followed by the devastating loss of his son Adam to drugs, and now the ongoing legal battles have turned Rick from a beloved Las Vegas icon into a man tormented by his own past. In an interview with People, he confessed, "Life teaches you how to get back up, but sometimes you fall too far." Now, as Corey faces the possibility of prison, Rick feels he no longer has the strength to rise again. Instead, he is left to grapple with the painful reality of a father watching his family unravel, much of it caused by his own actions. In December 2025, Corey Harrison, a key figure on Pawn Stars and the son of Rick Harrison, stood trial at the Clark County Courthouse in Nevada. Corey faced charges of tax evasion, theft of antiquities, and smuggling, similar to the charges his father had previously confronted. The case was sparked by an FBI raid on Rick Harrison's home, which uncovered crucial evidence tied to illegal transactions at the gold and silver pawn shop. The 3-week trial not only placed Corey under intense scrutiny, but also brought Rick's past legal troubles back into the spotlight, reopening the narrative of his earlier conviction. The FBI's search of Rick Harrison's home in September 2025 uncovered troubling evidence that linked both Rick and Corey to illegal activities. A hidden lockbox behind a painting in Rick's office contained a USB drive with encrypted emails exchanged between Rick and Corey. These emails detailed the transfer of $1.8 million to a Panama account in an attempt to evade taxes tied to Pawn Stars. In addition, a handwritten ledger, believed to be Corey's, listed numerous off-the-books antique transactions, including a 9th-century Mayan pottery piece suspected to be stolen from Guatemala and a 16th-century bronze statue smuggled from Ukraine. The discovery of these documents, along with $2.3 million in fake invoices, confirmed that Corey was not only aware of the illegal dealings, but had actively participated in them under his father's direction. The hearing began with a compelling argument from prosecutor Laura Martinez, who accused Corey Harrison of conspiring to evade $3.5 million in taxes between 2018 and 2023, assisting his father Rick in funneling money through offshore shell companies. She presented emails from the USB drive, including one where Rick wrote, "Corey, stay quiet about the Guatemala shipment, no one needs to know." Martinez also played a recording from a shop employee in which Corey admitted to expediting the transport of bronze statues to avoid customs inspections. Corey Harrison was not a victim of his father. He was an accomplice in crime, profiting from Pawn Stars' fame, Martinez declared, causing a heavy silence to fall over the courtroom. Corey's defense team, led by Rebecca Stein, argued that he was a pawn in Rick's scheme, acting under his father's pressure. Stein claimed the encrypted emails didn't show Corey's initiative, as he was just following Rick's orders. She also suggested the ledger could have been forged, since the handwriting hadn't been forensically tested. Regarding the recording, Stein said Corey was joking under stress, with no criminal intent. She appealed for sympathy by highlighting Corey's personal losses, including his grandfather and brother, Adam. "Corey is a loyal son, Not a criminal, she stated, portraying him as a victim of his father's influence. Key witnesses played crucial roles in the trial. Deanna Burdett, Rick's ex-wife, made a dramatic return to the spotlight with explosive testimony. She claimed Corey was aware of the hidden safe and helped Rick review documents in 2019. Corey didn't object when Rick asked him to cover up the transaction. He said, "Dad knows best," Deanna recalled. Another shop employee, Sarah Mitchell, testified that Corey accepted a Mayan statue from a Mexican seller in 2021 without asking for legal documentation, further implicating him in the illegal activities. However, Corey's close friend, Austin Chumley Russell, defended him, stating that Corey often complained about the pressure from Rick, but felt he had no choice due to family loyalty. These conflicting testimonies left the jury to decide whether Corey was an active accomplice or a victim of blind loyalty, making the case even more complicated and emotionally charged. On the 10th day of the trial, Corey took the stand, visibly gaunt and trembling. He admitted to knowing about some undocumented transactions, but said, "I was just following my dad. He ran the shop. I didn't think it was wrong." When questioned about the emails, Corey stammered, "I don't remember writing them. My dad handled everything." He became emotional when talking about Adam, saying, "I lost my brother. I don't want to lose my dad too." While Corey's heartfelt testimony sparked sympathy, his vague responses ultimately weakened Stein's defense, leaving the jury uncertain about his role in the illegal activities. Rick Harrison was also summoned to clarify Corey's role. With sunken eyes, Rick took full responsibility. "Corey didn't know anything about taxes or the origins of the antiques. I asked him to do those things because I believed it was right. Don't punish my son." However, prosecutor Laura Martinez challenged Rick with emails showing Corey responding, "Guatemala shipment handled safely." This inconsistency raised doubts about Rick shielding his son. After 5 grueling days of deliberation, the jury delivered its verdict on the afternoon of December 20th, 2025. Corey "Big Hoss" Harrison, a well-known figure from Pawn Stars, was sentenced to 10 years in prison for conspiracy to commit tax evasion and possession of stolen property, including numerous stolen antiques sold through the gold and silver pawn shop. However, the biggest shock came with the sentence for his father, Rick Harrison, the founder of the iconic pawn shop and the face of the Pawn Stars reality TV empire for over a decade. As the mastermind behind a network of tax fraud, money laundering, and illegal property transactions, Rick was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The courtroom fell silent for a few seconds before gasps and camera flashes from reporters erupted. Rick, dressed in a wrinkled black suit, showed no emotion as the verdict was read. He sat motionless, hands clasped as if in prayer, eyes vacant. Corey, standing beside his attorney, broke down in tears as Rick was escorted out of the courtroom. Corey tried to lunge toward his father, but was restrained by security. He shouted, "Dad, I'm sorry, I didn't know anything." His voice echoed through the courtroom, marking the tragic end of a family torn apart by the consequences of their actions. Just hours after the verdict, the History Channel announced the permanent cancellation of Pawn Stars. All episodes were removed from streaming platforms, and the gold and silver pawn shop was sealed off by the IRS for further investigation. Reports indicated that many antiques in the shop's inventory, not shown on TV, may have illicit origins. public reaction was sharply divided. Many fans expressed sympathy for Corey on social media, with the hashtag #JusticeForCorey trending. Supporters argued he was a victim of his father's influence, with one tweet saying, "Corey grew up in that shop. How could he go against his dad?" On the other hand, critics accused Corey of ignoring the warning signs and staying silent. A popular Reddit comment read, "He's not stupid. He just chose to look the other way." Meanwhile, Austin Chumley Russell, a close friend of both Rick and Corey, who had remained silent throughout the trial, unexpectedly posted an old photo on Instagram after the verdict. The photo showed the three of them standing in front of the pawn shop in 2011 with a simple caption, "I lost my two best friends. I just want the shop back like it was." The post quickly went viral, garnering over 1 million likes in just 12 hours, along with an outpouring of comments filled with sorrow, anger, and nostalgia. Following the trial, Rick and Corey Harrison faced the harsh reality of prison life, where inmates showed little mercy. Rick, now 60, was placed at the Nevada Federal Penitentiary, a medium-security facility where he quickly became a target. Once famous for Pawn Stars, Rick was mocked as the Pawn King and faced hostility from inmates who resented his fame. In February 2026, a fabricated assault left Rick with 2 broken ribs after a group of prisoners attacked him in the yard, calling him a rich tax dodger. Living in fear and isolation, Rick wrote in a letter to Corey, "I deserved this. I destroyed everything, son." The physical pain was nothing compared to the guilt tormenting him. Corey Harrison, 42, held at a different Nevada prison, faces his own set of challenges. Though younger and healthier than his father, Corey has become a target, branded the son of a con man. A recent bullying incident left him with a scar on his forehead after a food tray was thrown at him. Inmates taunt him as the loyal idiot who followed Rick, causing Corey to struggle with constant anxiety. Meanwhile, in the solitude of his cell, Rick confronts his guilt. Long nights give him time to reflect on his past mistakes, while Corey joins a prison support group to address his trauma. Once poised to inherit the family business, Corey's future now remains uncertain. Prison life is not just physically brutal, but also mentally suffocating. Rick, once a celebrated figure, now finds himself behind cold, unforgiving walls, without the fame, the admiration, or the gold and silver pawn shop that once gave him purpose. As he reflects on his life, he can't escape the haunting memories of his father, Adam, and the days when the shop was a symbol of family pride. For both Rick and Corey, what they've lost is irretrievable. Once icons of a reality TV empire, they are now living symbols of the high price of loyalty, greed, and silence. The stunning revelations from Rick Harrison's ex-wife have completely shifted the narrative about him. But are these truths, or just the missing pieces of a much bigger puzzle? We'd love to hear what you think. Drop your comments below. Don't forget to like and share this video to get the word out. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.